thank you so much for hosting us today and keeping us honest on our message. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Without any hesitation, I'd love to introduce our co-speaker today, Mr. Raymond Leduc. Raymond, thank you so much for accepting our invitation, being here.
Thank you for allowing me to join. I've had the privilege of attending some Innovabutt 5 sets in the past, and I always learn a great deal, so I feel honored to be here today. I'm here today as a manufacturing practitioner. I got over 40 years in manufacturing, where I learned that the job is aligning great people to deliver outstanding value for very demanding customers, whether it was my work in aerospace or in semiconductors or vehicles. And today, our company supplies AI vision systems to the world's biggest tire makers. We didn't pick the tire business, they picked us. And we're now in 22 countries on 5 continents and continuing to deliver value for very demanding customers in a fairly highly regulated industry. We're the experts for seeing black on black, but we've also branched out to inspect metallic parts and lots of composite parts as well. So we provide tools to our customers because our mantra is that employees or your workers don't make mistakes. It's their tools or the processes that let them down. And we provide the tools and the processes that allow people on the shop floor to be flawless every day and go home happy they've done a good job in support of their customers and of their teammates. So it's a pleasure to be here.
Super well said. Thank you so much, Raymond. So Pedro Gregorio, as Miguel said, I head up the robotics advanced manufacturing lab here at Innovabutt Labs. Super excited. Spent more than 25 years doing robotics in various industries. I've put robots in cars, in medical operating rooms, in consumer electronics and mobile phones, and I've had the great good fortune to use robots to build spaceships. So having my name on orbit, having touched things that are now orbiting Mars. Career doing a bunch of invention, a lot of patents, and great honor of leading teams throughout. So the challenge for me has always been at the intersection of human communication and technology, getting super smart people together and building spaces that allow them to contribute and have access to success and accomplishment. So really excited with the work that we're doing here at Innovabutt now, where we're trying to bring that expertise, similar to what Raymond is doing, out into the marketplace. So today, we're talking about industrial environments and automation. So here we go. Just for setting the frame, everybody sees, we can't turn on our feeds without seeing automation and robots doing amazing and exciting things. Automation is accelerating, but adoption is what needs to follow. And today, when we look out at the world, we see great technological advances, artificial intelligence, robotics, perception, machine vision. All of these are advancing super rapidly. And there's also an increasing investment in industrial automation that's constantly growing. But at the same time, the deployments are uneven. We don't necessarily see these automations reaching into the place where they can make a difference. And so the gap really is not so much technology, although there's great stuff to be done, but it's really about execution. Raymond?
Let me just jump in. The way I see it is fairly simple. We all remember how we implemented lean into our operations. We tackled real problems. We had quality issues or we had bottlenecks that we needed to fix. So we attacked real problems with a lean methodology. The implementation of ERP systems, SAP, for example. So for me, it's always the same. It's not the technology. It's running projects successfully, having clear change management approaches, and using the technology as a tool to achieve a desired state. Strategy, I always say strategy is fairly easy. Execution is really hard. So I think the execution line here is what's really critical. There are people there to help you. You need the energy and the enthusiasm to deploy it, just like you've done so successfully with other initiatives in the past.
So stated in a different way, if we can say it, is that automation doesn't fail because the technology doesn't work. It fails because organizations struggle to deploy it. And as you're saying now, we've lived this story before. Automation isn't necessarily special in that way. Really, it's about project management, and how do you roll it out into operations?
So for me, if I want to tackle something that'll be a success, I look for my biggest bottleneck. I look for my biggest quality problem. I look for what customers are telling me needs to be fixed in order to increase my success rate with them. I'll find one line, I'll find one product, and I'll pilot that and make it a success. And along the way, train my people to be able to move to the next deployment. And for me, companies that do this today are the ones that will pull ahead because the trend is there and it's being done around the world.
Excellent. So the question then comes, what's different about this moment in time? How is now different? Why is automation the conversation of the day? And here we're talking about a couple of different dimensions. Changing workforce. We all saw hugely impactful, especially during COVID and in the aftermath of COVID, is that our workforces are changing. There's changing demographics. The workforce is aging across North America. People are struggling to find skilled labor to backfill some of these processes in their manufacturing workflows. And as well, hiring and retention remain major challenges. In fact, I think 65% of Canadian manufacturers cite labor as their top issue. And this is a problem that's today, but is also increasing across North America. I think something like 12.6 million employees work in manufacturing. And as we're trying to reshore workflows, we're projecting that we'll need close to 4 million more employees by 2033. And we're expecting that half of those jobs will be unfilled. What do you have to say about this, Raymond?
Well, I like the dimension of labor gap, but there's also the skills gap.
Yes.
So these are opportunities to upskill your workforce, to go from loading, unloading machines to running robot cells, to learning quality control techniques. So if you view this as an opportunity to create more good product per day at lower cost, with higher quality, and by the same token, increase the skill level of your team, you're going to focus on retention. People will want to do these new jobs if they're handled right.
So upskilling.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, because when we used to speak about automation maybe 15 years ago, people would say robots are going to come and steal our jobs. And there was a huge resistance to bringing robots into the workforce. But now today, everybody is pretty much, when can I get my robots? Because I can't find the people to do the work. But of course, robots can't do everything. You still need people. And even though robots have done a great job, and there's a lot of automation in the big players, in the big industry, most of manufacturing isn't there. Most manufacturing is in the small and medium-sized enterprises where production is still very much dependent on people. The critical knowledge, as you say, is experience-based. It's not necessarily written down or documented. And people can really underestimate how much small friction in a process can really mess up a workflow.
And I think if you're in a small or medium-sized business, you have a structural advantage. Where automation has gone into big companies, I see a big company where I spent the majority of my career. It's like a giant flywheel. Has lots of inertia, but once it's spooled up, it's going to move and it's going to take you where you want to go. A small SME is more like a set of gears, delicate gears, and they all have to be aligned. And there mustn't be one missing or broken in order to move it forward. But it's more agile, it's faster. It doesn't need a big spool up. So if you can align everybody, you can move much faster than any of the big companies that are adopting automation today.
And I think that's an important point because we do see roughly 500,000 industrial robots being deployed annually around the world. But while 40% of those are being deployed into industries like automotive, the vast majority of employment is, especially in North America, is in small and medium-sized enterprises. 98, 99% of manufacturing employees are working in these smaller companies. And those companies, these are the backbone of our communities across Canada and the US. They can't afford to just rip out a factory and put in a fully automated process. These are brownfield environments. Whereas you say it's about fixing the individual gears, not changing out the machines.
Right.
So as you say, alignment is critical. And again, traditional automation, I mean, we all remember seeing exciting videos of robots welding cars in the 80s. These are fantastic, structured environments, high repeatability of parts, predictable inputs. But, the dirty secret is that these robots were blind and dumb. They did the job when it was there, but they couldn't handle flexibility. They couldn't handle variation across inputs, and they couldn't adapt to changing conditions. But today, a lot of the manufacturing, especially as we're shifting and building resilience into our supply chains, it's really about high mix manufacturing, lower volumes, being able to adapt and change over time. And when we marry that with the reality of small and medium enterprises, how do you get robots working shoulder to shoulder in processes with human operators?
Pedro's on a really good point here, because all manufacturing operations are becoming factories that require lots of high mix. Yes, they might have high volume. We have certain customers that will have over 1,500 SKUs in operation in their factory, changeovers, new product introductions. Even though they're standard products in the market, everybody wants mass customization. So the automation is moving in that direction. The automation, even of the big players, is moving towards more customization and more flexibility. So the smaller companies will benefit from that, because the big automation players can't afford to be building one size fits all. They need to broaden their scope to satisfy the demands of the splintering market in their current customers, and to be ready to provide value to the smaller companies.
And if I may, Raymond, it's also, the splintering is not just in types of product and quantity and variability, but I mean, we all learned during COVID. I learned a new word called surprise chain when I couldn't find any toilet paper at my local shop. It's also about inventory numbers, the whole just-in-time piece. So the flexibility in manufacturing allows you to meet the different objectives without storing vast inventories, overstocking things that you'll never sell. So really, it plays in both dimensions. And here, what we're talking about, where does automation break? Because the reality is that you always start with the low-hanging fruit: conveyors, palletizers, packaging, machine tending, etc. And there's a million folks out there who want to sell you solutions for this. But this isn't the guy who's been here 20 years who knows how to do the thing, and when he's gone, someone else can't do it. And, I can sort of describe it to you, but I don't know what the job is. A lot of these tasks where automation is breaking today is that these tasks are difficult to automate, and they remain difficult to automate. And there's a substantial overlap between what's hard to automate and where it's hard to find staff. So things like you're dealing with, inspection under variable conditions, or sorting and handling of things that are variable in consistent inputs, or the finishing, polishing, buffing, sanding, welding, these kinds of things.
And that's where it's so exciting, because when you start automating the decision making, when you are able to equip your automation with eyes to see and compute power to take decisions, you can automate decision making. And for me, the direction that we're headed is you want to automate real-time quality control, so that you're not detecting, you are diagnosing, and you are correcting on the fly. So the vision that I see is you could potentially never make a bad part, because you are in real time monitoring what's going on in your processes, and you're taking action before anything drifts upstream. You're able to make decisions. And we're already doing that with some customers, where we're sending signals back upstream. So real closed loop control to potentially never make a bad part, because you've got 100% visual inspection of all your key parameters, be they metrology or surface conditions or quality parameters, in real time. So that's where the power is going to really make a difference in all of our operations, and that's what excites me.
And when we look at those kinds of workflows, Raymond, where you're talking about, you've got human operators today that are seeing, that are thinking, that are acting. When you map that onto how do you automate it, well, you've got tasks around perception, like machine vision. Then you've got tasks around cognition, thinking about the problem, comparing, making these decisions. And then you've got the execution, whether it be putting things in the right bin or tweaking a knob or sending a signal for an operator upstream to make an adjustment. So that whole mapping is really where the exciting piece of technology and the recent developments we see can really help moving forward and unlocking and helping to break the barrier, getting at these hard to difficult to automate tasks, especially where you're not necessarily in a high volume automotive manufacturer, but we're trying to break into these brownfield opportunities. Now, the hidden barrier is data. A lot of organizations are not fully data ready. I've had managers ask me, where can I use AI in my process? And I told them, as long as you got people jotting things down with a Sharpie on a piece of paper, you're not going to unlock AI. Really, data is the lifeblood of AI, and it's the lifeblood of automation. But it's not always consistent, especially in these small and medium-sized businesses where things have grown over time and the systems don't talk to each other. The information maybe is incomplete. They're not designed to be well integrated. A lot of AI projects, which we'll talk about more in another webinar, really is about cleaning up your data and making sure your data is clean, accurate, reliable, and available at the right time, so you can actually act on it and do stuff. But without reliable data, your automation is not going to scale. Just like without knowing what's a good part or a bad part, your robot's not going to be able to help you in your process.
Now, Pedro's on a great point. Even if you were to not implement automation in an area, just doing this exercise of consolidating your data and getting ready is going to bring value, because there is gold in the data you have today, and there's so much opportunity by consolidating it, refining it, cleaning it up, and preparing it for implementation of automation and vision systems.
So it's all great to create a pilot and to demonstrate a capability, an MVP. Everybody's happy. People are excited. How do you scale? And to the points we had earlier from Rajesh, lack of clear ownership among after deployment, misalignment across the entire operation, IT, leadership, integrating with the existing legacy systems, or sometimes, back to the point about Keyence, got this great solution, but I don't know how to maintain it over time. I barely know how to turn it on. So sometimes these systems fail, not because the technology is broken, but they fail operationally. And so to build a pilot and go beyond, to have long-term success, you need ownership. Somebody at the customer needs to own it. You need support, whether that's a maintenance contract, a cycle, a process, and you need life cycle planning. This thing is great building green widgets. What about next year when I'm launching blue widgets? How do I move on to that? Raymond?
Pedro's on a great point there too. For me, it's make sure that you hold your vendors' feet to the fire, that you embed them as much as possible into your operation, and that you have dedicated people that are going to move with or stay with the technology before they move on. One of the things I see happen often is people say, well, this project is complete, and they'll move the best people they put on the project to something else, but it's done prematurely, and then the project becomes a bit lost, and you end up having to replicate, or potentially it's lost completely. So pick a reliable vendor, integrate them, and make sure you've got your key people on it to make it deploy across the organization.
And again, in terms of making sure that a pilot converts to something that's real, you also got to make sure that you understand the success factors and that you're monitoring these things, that you know what success looks like. What are your KPIs? Is this pilot repeatable and deployable? And again, making sure you build out that internal capability so your customer can take ownership over time. So the gap, perception and reality. I can barely open my feet on any given day without seeing robots doing somersaults, juggling, kung fu, folding laundry, loading dishwashers. And these things are, they're super exciting and they're really impactful demonstrations, but are they real? Right? You're looking at breakthroughs, you're looking at demonstrations, you're looking at, super fast innovation, but Will it work? Will it work tomorrow? Will it work the same tomorrow? Will it work every day?
We've all seen the Roomba fail to negotiate slippers and shoes and umbrellas left lying around. So the goal here is to pick a project that offers real opportunity for improvement, put the right people on it, name an owner, execute it, prove it out, show the ROI, get people excited, and then scale it.
Ultimately, what we're saying is that if you want your organization to succeed, it's not about having the most advanced technology. It's really about how can you deploy something and then scale it effectively. It's not the sexy state-of-the-art technology that does the best job that's going to win. It's the technology that's going to show up to work every day and grind through and have repeatable success.